Well, hey, welcome everybody to another GoDaddy Pro meetup. My name is Marcus Burnett. I'm part of the GoDaddy Pro team. If you are new with us, GoDaddy Pro is primarily focused on resources, tools, education for builders, those that are building websites for others, entrepreneurs, freelancers, agencies, that kind of thing. And our aim is to share, like I said, tools and resources that are helpful for that, which leads us to our guest today, Mark Westgard, who is the founder of WS Form and is going to give us a bit of a demonstration on the plugin and how that all works and all the fun fanciness. How are you doing today, Mark?
Doing good, thanks, Marcus. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I shared on Twitter and elsewhere that I got a bit of a demo last week, and I was just floored with the power and flexibility while at the same time having just such an intuitive user interface. And so I'm very excited for this one. I'm very excited for you to be here and to share this with our audience. And I will hand it over to you in just a moment for just a little bit of housekeeping up front here. Thanks for joining us. If you are here with us live, we do have a chat feature on the side. I will be out of the way with my face off screen, but I will be hanging out in the chat fielding questions for Mark to answer at the end. So do please share any of those questions that you might have in the chat area. Also, this is being recorded, and I will send out a link to the email that you used to register for that, and I'll have some more details at the end about where you can find all of our meetup recordings and all of that. But if you do have to leave early or you want to share this with your team later on, there will be a recording and that'll be available to you. So I'm actually going to just go on ahead and get out of your way, and I will leave the floor to you to show us all about WS Form, and I will pop back on after you're done to do some questions and answers.
Sounds good. Thanks, Marcus.
Take it away. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining us. I'm going to be giving you a product demo of WS Form, and I'm going to run through some of the key features of WS Form. First thing I want to show you is just the add new screen. So let's just jump straight in and start building forms and show you how this works. So the first step is the template library. We have a bunch of different templates that you can use in WS Form to get started. You can start from blank if you want, if you just want a completely fresh white sheet to start with. Or you can choose one of the different template categories up here. We have a demo category here that shows you how to build some of the more complex stuff in WS Form. But for now, let's just start off with a basic Contact Us form. So I'm actually running this on GoDaddy Pro, so you can see how this works. This is actually on their most basic level of hosting as well, so you can see how fast this runs. So this is a basic Contact Us form. This is our layout editor. In the center, you've got the actual layout of the form, how it's going to look on the screen. And on the right-hand side, we have all the different fields that you can use to build that form with. All these fields can be resized to any number of columns that you want. On this particular demo, I'm showing it with a 12-column layout. And at the bottom of the screen, we have the breakpoint selector. So the breakpoint selector enables you to preview the form at different breakpoints. And what a breakpoint is basically anything from mobile device through to a tablet, through to laptop, all the way through to desktop. So as I scroll this left and right, we can actually see that form at those different breakpoints. Now, WS Form is the only plugin out there that actually does proper responsive forms. And what I mean by that is you can control the width of fields and sections based upon the breakpoint that the form is being viewed at. So that's great for accessibility. It's going to make sure that if you're on a mobile device, that you don't have too many fields crammed next to each other. And on desktop, we can take advantage of that additional space and maybe introduce additional columns. So on a mobile device, typically you're going to want maybe full width fields on there. If we go up to a tablet, maybe we want to do 2 fields side by side. If we go up to the laptop, maybe we want to introduce 3 columns. So not the most attractive form here, but I'm just going to show you how this works. So as I now change that breakpoint selector, you can see it's remembered the layout for each of those breakpoints. So a lot of form plugins will collapse into a single column format, but with WS Form, you have full control over that. So you can choose which fields collapse, which ones don't. You can also control the width and size of sections as well. So Usually a section will be full width with fields in it, but you can actually split that up. So again, I can resize that section. I can actually offset sections as well if I want to. I can copy sections. And I can also introduce tabs. So forms are basically made up of tabs, sections, and fields. So if I want to add a new tab, I can click on Add Tab at the top of the layout editor. And I can actually drag a section between tabs if I want. So I can then break up a form into different tabs. So if you've got a really big form, using tabs is a nice way of breaking that up. Another way you can do that is you can just have one tab and you can use our conditional logic to switch off fields or sections using that conditional logic. And I'll come on to that in a moment and show you how that works. You can actually drag fields between tabs as well. So you've got great flexibility here on how the layout of the form actually appears. Let's preview that form so you can see how that looks. So here's an example of a tab, a multi-step form. We've got two tabs that we created. I've actually got the same content on because I didn't make much of a change to it. But as I resize this, you can see the responsiveness occurring on that. At the bottom of the screen here, we've got our WS Form debug console. And what the debug console enables you to do is several things. So first of all, we can populate that form in a single click. So the debug console is a really useful tool for testing big forms. Testing big forms can take a lot of time. You've got to fill out all those fields, then you've got to hit submit, test it, and then go back again and refill out that form. So by using that debug console, you can just hit populate. And every time you hit populate, you get different data. And you'll notice all the data is context sensitive. So the email address fills out with an email address. The phone number will have a phone number on it. And then you've got populate and submit. So if I hit populate and submit, it populates the form, submits the form, and then if we go back, you can then see in submissions that we've got a form submission. And I can click on that form submission ID. I can see everything about that form submission on the right-hand side here. And what it also does is it logs any actions that have run when that form was submitted. I'll come on to actions in a second. But essentially what it does is it's saying here that we showed a message, we sent an email, and we saved the submission. And one of the nice things about our action save here is we can actually rerun an action. So if I click run again and hit rerun here, it will actually send that email again. Now, if you've got an API integration going on, maybe with a custom third party that you're working with, or one of the ones that we support like Mailchimp, it'll actually push that data to the API endpoint again. So it's great for testing. Again, you don't have to fill out that whole form again to do that. So let's have a look at some of the different field types and some of the settings that we have for those. So let's just have a look at text field, for example. You've got everything that you would expect, like show label, required, hidden, the default value, placeholders. You can go a little bit further with WS Form. We have things like autocomplete, which determine how the browser will autocomplete that form. There's a bunch of different options in there that you can choose, like additional name, family name. You can also actually control the virtual keyboard that appears on a mobile device. So on a mobile device, you'll have different keyboards like the numeric keyboard, the alphanumeric keyboard, and you can control which of those keyboards will appear for each field. You can do prefixes, suffixes on fields, so you can maybe put a percentage sign or a dollar sign at the beginning if you wanted to. And then we're WCAG compliant all the way through WS Form. You can change those ARIA labels on those fields if you want to, so you can override those. Sometimes when you put a label on a field, the automatic labeling that we put on there may not look right, may not read correctly, so you can actually customize that here. Under Advanced, we have the ability to add your own classes, some styling options, and then you've got the usual stuff like the max number of characters, but we also, on each field, we have a bunch of different features that you can add on that typically you'd have to write JavaScript for. So the whole idea around WS Form is to make it's been designed to be as no code as possible. So you can do things like minimum word, maximum word. We support input masks. You can determine whether a field should be displayed if a user's logged in or logged out or has a certain user role capability, and it goes on. So what we've basically done for each field type is we've stripped out as much of the functionality HTML5 spec as possible and given you control over that within this user interface. So you don't have to go in and add custom attributes and things to fields. Let's have a look at a different field type. We'll take a look at a select field, for example. So with select fields, you're going to want to choose the options that appear in that select field. So if we go to options, And I can maximize this sidebar just to make this look a little bit easier. We can add additional rows to that if we want. You can choose which one is selected by default. You can disable it, you can hide rows. So that's your usual kind of option selection stuff for a select field. But you can go further than that with WS Forms. So we have this section here called data source. Data sources enable you to pull in data into that drop-down list. We have a preset option where you can actually pull down predefined data from our CDN. So you may want to pull down maybe different sizes. Hit get data, and that'll pull that data down and fill that data out for you. You can also, if I hit off on here, if you've got a CSV file of data, you can actually drag that CSV file into that data grid here, and it will pull that CSV in so that you can use it on that select field. You can also auto-op group that data as well. So op groups in selects are where you have almost like a sub set of options within the select field. I'll show you that in a second. But if we go to auto group here and I choose region, what it'll do is it will go through the region column and actually split that into different op groups here. So if I hit save and close on that, and then we preview that form, you'll see now that CSV file is in all the countries, and you can see the op groups here. So under Europe, you've got the European countries, so on and so forth. So super easy to take large data sets and convert those into select fields. The select field also has options such as enabling select to on it. You can enable Ajax on that very simply. You can also do cascading fields as well. So if you want to do a make, model, color kind of breakdown multi-select system, you can do that with WS Form. Again, no additional coding. It's all built into the system. So let's have a look at conditional logic. So in conditional logic, most form plugins will have conditional logic such as if this field equals this value, then show this particular field. And that's all done at a field level. So with WS Form, all the conditional logic is form-centric. So let's have an example of how that conditional logic works. What I'll do is I'm going to add one of the demos so you can see this. If we use this conditional logic demo, he's now going to build some conditional logic for us. So this is just a very simple example of conditional logic being used. So if we go into here, you can see the different conditions that we've got. So we've got, what have we got here? 8 different conditions for this particular form. If we go into rating, what we're saying is, and you'll see when I click on that, it highlights on the form the different fields that are involved within this condition. We're saying if the rating field here equals 5, then we're going to set the visibility of this next field here. Otherwise, we're going to hide it and we're going to reset that particular field. So the idea around form-centric conditional logic is I can do if statements around multiple different fields. I can do ands and ors, and I can actually do grouped ands and ors in here as well. And then I can also apply condition on the then or the else on multiple fields within WS Form as well. Now it doesn't just stop with fields. So what I can actually do is do conditional logic at a form, tab, section, or a field level. And every field has different conditions associated with it. So it's all context sensitive. So for example, let's preview this demo so you can see how that works. So it's quite a simple demo, but this will say give me 5 stars. So I click on that. Then we've got a range slider. I want to drop that below 50, and it will then introduce another field here. Choose a second radio button. Do a signature, choose a dark color, type 3 words, choose at least 2 checkboxes, and click a button. So that's all done with conditional logic. Check in each of these different field types. So to show you, more of an example of that, let's go into here. So WS Form can actually be used on WooCommerce products. If we go into a t-shirt demo, for example, here we can choose the color of that t-shirt, and we're actually analyzing the color of that, the lightness of that color to determine whether the word commerce on the t-shirt should be white or dark. And we'll come back onto the WooCommerce stuff in a moment. So that's conditional logic. There's an awful lot you can do with it. It makes forms very interactive. There's a lot of different conditions in here that you can choose for each field type. Everything from equals, does not equal. You can check whether that field is actually validated or not and do stuff with it. And then we also have mouse events as well. So you can check if a field has been clicked on, if there's been a mouse down event, a mouse up event. Anything that you want really is covered in here. On text fields, we also cover things like regular expressions, and so you can get quite granular with it if you need to. In terms of the then statements, you can do stuff like setting the field visible, invisible. You can add classes, you can set minimum maximums on there, you can reset them. But at a form level as well, if I choose form here, you've got things like submitting the forms. You can even do stuff like if a mouse rolls over this field, then save the form in the background. You can also run JavaScript. You can show whether a field is validated or not, etc., etc. So a lot you can do with the conditional logic. Let's go on to actions. So actions occur whenever a form is saved or submitted, and you can choose which actions you want to run when the form saved. The save is basically saving the form so they can come back to it later on, or if the form is submitted. So typically on a form, you're going to have a save submission. So we're going to save that data in a database. We're going to show a thank you message, and we're going to send an email somewhere to notify them that a form has been submitted. Every action can be fully configured. So I can go into send email. Again, I can expand this out, and you can see all the different options here that we have just for sending an email. You've got things like round robin. So if maybe you've got a sales team of 3 people, you could distribute those emails equally between the people within that sales team. You can just use our visual editor. This is like a standard email template, which will automatically put the fields that have been submitted onto that email. But you can also, if you want, go full HTML. So you can do full top and bottom HTML on that email if you want to. And there's some more advanced features such as adding headers, email headers for tracking and things like that. There are a lot of different actions in WS Forms, so you can add as many of those as you want. So if you want to send an email to 3 different people that have 3 different content, I can just add another send email action. If I want to run some JavaScript when that form is submitted, I can do that. If I want to run a WordPress hook and actually run some PHP, manipulate that submission and do something with it, I can do that as well. You can push data to a custom endpoint. So if you've got a custom API that you've developed or you're working with, you can push that data through to that custom endpoint. We're also GDPR compliant all the way through. So we actually tie in with the WordPress GDPR functionality, and that enables you to initiate a data erase request or a data export request should you want to. We've actually got some templates for those as well. One of the cool features of WS Form is the integrations that we have. So we've got about 65 plus different integrations. And I'll show you an example now how easy that is to work with. And we'll use Mailchimp as an example. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Add New and go to our template library here. And we've got a tab here called Mailchimp. And what it's doing is we've already connected to Mailchimp. We do that with, we use OAuth to connect to those services. So it means you don't have to use an API key. You just click connect, sign into Mailchimp, accept the connection, and off you go. So this is pulled down the different lists that we have in this example Mailchimp account. And all you have to do is click Use Template. And what's happening now is WS Form is going off to Mailchimp, pulling down the fields from Mailchimp, and building a form for you. So you'll see here we've got all the custom fields that we have in Mailchimp. We've even got interest groups and things like that. And it's got an opt-in on there ready for GDPR too. Again, you can style this form in any way you want. So you can make this fully responsive. This works in exactly the same way as you building a form from scratch. And if we go to actions and we go to add to Mailchimp, you'll see here we've got an action that runs when the form is submitted. And what it's doing is it's going to map your form fields here across to Mailchimp. And those are automatically mapped for you as well. So this form is basically ready to go in a single click. All you've got to do is publish it, add it to a page, and off you go. When you add WS Form to a page, you can use Gutenberg, so you can use a block, and then we're also compatible with all the major site builders such as Elementor, Divi, Beaver Builder, Oxygen, Bricks, so on and so forth. You can also populate forms from these integrations as well. So if I go into form settings and I go to data, I can actually tell it to populate this form using the Mailchimp action. So here are our Mailchimp fields, and we're saying populate these fields here across to these form fields. And what it'll do is it will take whoever's logged in, take their email address. We consider that a validated email address. We'll then populate that Mailchimp form with that data. So it doesn't stop just at integrations such as Mailchimp. We can also integrate it with WordPress itself, and we can create posts. We can even create user accounts. So let's have a look at the post management side of things. Again, we'll go back to Add New, and we'll click on the Post Management tab. And this will then show us the custom post types and the built-in post types in WordPress that we've got registered. So by default, you've got posts, and then you've got other post types such as page. And because we've got WooCommerce installed on this particular install, we've also got the product order and coupon post types. And you'll notice on the post template, it's got an ACF logo. And that's because WS Forms recognize that you've got ACF installed and that you've got some custom fields associated with that post type. And what it'll do is if I hit on Use Template, what it's now doing is pulling in all those fields from ACF. I've got a lot of fields on this particular demo, so it might take a little bit of time to build that. But here you can see this is a form for creating a post in WordPress. So you've got the usual fields at the top, such as title, slug, content, excerpt, and a featured image. You don't have to have those fields. If you want to remove those and unmap them, you can do that. And then below that, we've got all the ACF fields. So you'll see that pretty much every field type in ACF is included on this particular demo here. So if I then preview that, here's the form. So you've got your standard fields at the top. Below that, you've got all the different ACF fields converted to WS Form fields, including maps as well. And then I can hit populate, and I can submit that form. And that's it done. So that has now actually created a new post in WordPress. And you'll see here, here's the actual ACF interface, and you can modify that field as you wish. So as well as creating new posts, again, much like I showed you with the Mailchimp side of things, we can actually populate that form using post data as well. So I can go data here, populate using action. And there are various ways I can choose which post to actually populate this with. So I can either use the current page that the form is sitting on and use that post data, or I can specify a specific post ID here if I wanted to. And there are other ways of doing it, such as specifying the post ID in the URL. So you might want to do something like that by putting in the query variable post ID. Again, this is automatically mapped for you. So you've got here are your ACF fields here are your form fields, and it automatically pushes those across. So if you ever want to add another field later on, you can map those additionally should you want to. So that's kind of the integration side of things with posts and third-party services like Mailchimp, Constant Contact, Salesforce. On our homepage, you can see a bunch of the different templates that third parties that we connect with. And we're adding to that all the time. And one of the things that we're really hot on is support and listening to our customers. And we really are driven by recommendations that we've given by customers as to who we're connecting to. Okay, so that's conditional logic and actions. And then we also have form settings. So if we go into form settings here, there's some basic stuff in here, such as telling it whether or not to remember the last tab that was clicked. You can do tab validation, so it won't progress to the next tab unless the current tab is valid. We have some stuff in here about managing errors. So if you get an error back from your API, you can actually show that on the front of the site, or you can hide that. We have some styling options in here. So here you can add additional classes, tab classes, section class wrappers. You can customize what is shown for required fields. So for accessibility, some people like to actually show the word required as opposed to an asterisk. So you can actually put that in there should you want to. And then we do have other customized features in WS Forms. If I hit customize on here, you can actually see that you can change colors, font colors, you can change typography, borders, etc. A lot of our customers, because they're developers, they just like getting in there with CSS, and we have very, very clean HTML behind the scenes on the forms. But if you do just want to use this customized feature, that is available to you. We have a bunch of different spam functionality built in. So in terms of preventing spam, so with human presence, this is actually an AI-based system which will detect whether or not there's a human on the site filling the form out, and it will reject it if it doesn't see any kind of human activity. Very similar to reCAPTCHA version 3, in fact. And we support reCAPTCHA version 2, version 3, and HCAPTCHA as well, which is more of a privacy-focused CAPTCHA-based system. We're integrated in with Kismet, so that'll actually check for bad words when people are submitting stuff. And you've got the good old honeypot on there as well. We actually disable honeypot by default because some browsers with their autocomplete functionality have a bit of trouble with that. So we tend to prefer using some of the other more advanced tools, but honeypot's there should you need it. You can limit forms, so you can limit by submission count. You can actually schedule forms to appear between 2 different dates, and then you can schedule forms. You can hide forms based upon the user status. So you could say only show this form if someone's logged in, or if they're logged out, or if they have a certain user role and capability. And again, we have that at a section and a field level as well. So if you want to change this form based upon user status, you can. We have tracking built in, so you've got Google Analytics event tracking. So that will track things such as whether the form's been shown, whether tabs have been clicked on, whether fields have been interacted with. And then we have tracking built in as well, so you can actually track whether form submitted, what their remote IP address was, agent referrer, a bunch of different tracking in there. We also have geo lookup as well. So based on the IP address, we can actually convert that to city, region, country, time zone, etc. And then you've got the usual stuff in there like UTM tracking if you're still doing that. So you can actually bring that all the way through to the submission. We do have conversational forms as well. So if you're familiar with the conversational form format, you can very easily enable that. And then you can choose a slug for that form, actually choose a URL for that form, and it will then show the form in a conversational format should you want to do that. And then we have our WooCommerce integration. So I'll come on to that in just a second. One of the things I did want to just quickly show you is on the conditional logic. One of the things you can do is enable and disable actions using conditional logic. So for example, I could do something like, I don't know, if the title equals a certain value, then I can actually interact with my actions on the page. So I could actually show a message. I could say run that immediately. So you can run actions immediately, or you could disable them so when the form is submitted, that action doesn't run. So you can actually join up your conditional logic with your actions to make that form even more interactive. Just one more thing on the layout editor. We also have a section library, and the section library enables you to build forms really quickly by using pre-built sections of forms. Fields, sorry. So I can take international address, drag that across, and it builds that section for me. Again, I can resize that and do whatever I like with it. If I want to add maybe a GDPR save and submit to the form, I can do that. Click on that, and that brings that across. The nice thing about these sections in the section library as well is, let's see here, if I can find it. Yeah, like password confirmation, if I put that on there, it'll actually add the conditional logic needed to handle that password confirmation as well. If you have a section that you'd like, that maybe you've done some work on, maybe you've pulled in some data, got the fields all responsive the way that you like them, you can click here and you can actually add that to your section library. And you can then use that elsewhere if you want to. You can download sections and you can download forms as well. I can actually drag a form into my sections and turn that into an entire section that I can then use elsewhere. So the JSON files that are exported from WS Form I can import them in a section or a form level. So for example, I could take this password confirmation section here, I can download that, and then I can then go into a different form. Maybe we'll just create a blank form here. And I can then drag that section into that form, and it will then pull that data in. So it's really easy to migrate forms from one install to another. And you know, when you're within a single install and you're building a lot of forms for a customer, you can use that section library to your advantage and really pull that data across very, very quickly. One of the other nice things it will do as you're actually editing your form here, if I make some adjustments to this, let's just add another text field to it just to have a play around. You've got full undo on this as well. So I can go back to any step in this form builder and go back to a step where I was happy with where I was. So you've got full undo on there, which is a nice feature to have. You've got support built into WS Form as well, so you can access our knowledge base from within the actual plugin itself. And if you need to reach out to our support team, support's our #1 focus. You can just fill your details out here. You can actually attach your form and send your form to us if you're happy with doing that. And we'll take a look at that form for you, work out what's going wrong, and then we can send you back a form that you can import, and we can help you out that way. You can also send through your system information, and we can just take a look and see if there's any plugin conflicts or anything like that. So let's have a quick look at the Woocommerce integration. So with WS Form, what you can do is take any of the forms and the features that I've just shown you and put those on WooCommerce products. So for example, we were looking at the multi-step forms earlier on. Here's an example of a multi-step WS form on an actual product. So you'll see we've got the multi-step here. And as I fill this out, you'll see there's our progress bar filled at the top there. Hit next. And we'll just choose some different options here. You'll notice here I've got a slide bar for some of the e-commerce functionality, which enables you to adjust the price of that product as well. And then I can actually sign that to say, yes, I approve. And then I can add that to the cart. And that will then add a cart entry with all the different metadata that I just chose. And you can choose which metadata is pushed across to the cart if you want to. I'll just show you this pizza example for a bit of fun. So this is an example of WS Form, and we're using Conditional Logic to modify the SVG that's shown on the page. So as I click different ingredients here, you'll see that pizza being filled up with delicious food. It's actually building up the price, and I can choose, this is actually a WooCommerce variation in conjunction with a form, and I can then build up a pizza, and it will then send that across as part of that order. So it also supports some of our more advanced features, such as Google Maps, for example. You can actually put maps on products. Again, maps can be used on normal fields if you want, normal forms. Repeatable sections. So if you want to have repeaters, maybe you're collecting information about attendees for a particular event, you can actually use that here. And there's a lot of different examples on here. You can find all these at woocommerce.wsform.com. And this has actually been a really popular part of our product, the ability to put in any of our functionality into WS Form itself. We have an extensive knowledge base, so if you need to know about how any of the fields work, you'll see that every field has a full explanation about how it works. And then we have demos on all of these knowledge base pages as well. So I can click on an address here, do an autocomplete, that then takes us to the location. But also then shows you how the features of that field work. Very extensive and comprehensive knowledge base. So you've got everything from field types. We have a bunch of tutorials that show you how to do more of the complex stuff. We are focused on no-code, but we do have a bunch of hooks. So if you're a developer at heart and you want to get in there and actually play around with the data that's flowing through WS Form, you can do that. So you can do stuff like custom server validation. We have code examples there that show you how to do that. Okay, and then just very quickly, just showing you the submission side of things. Let's just create a form very quickly, and we'll just preview that. And let's just do a populate and submit on that. We'll go to submissions. So with the submissions, like I showed you before, you can see the submission on the right-hand side, but you can also export that as a CSV file. We do have a light version of WS Form, which enables you to build a fairly basic contact us form that has all the components you need, like HCapture and reCapture. We actually include submissions and exports on that light version as well. So that's worth remembering. If you need a basic contact us form for a website, you just want to use the light edition, you've got all of this submission export capabilities built in. And then just one more integration I want to show you before Marcus jumps back on is something like our Google Sheets integration. So this is similar to Mailchimp, but it's quite cool. So if I go into Google Sheets, let me just see if I can get this Google Sheet up so we can see it. Sheets. So you'll see here that we've got, let's bring this one up so we can see. Sorry, Marcus and I were playing around with our screen earlier on. Okay, so here are our three sheets that I have in this particular Google Drive account. If I click on Use Template, what it's going to do is let me choose the sheet from that Google Sheet, and it will now build a form based upon this sheet here that we've got in Google Sheets. So you'll see it's pulled in 4 different columns, and we've got 4 columns in that Google Sheet here. If I preview this form, and let me just change the size of this so we can see it's actually working. If I then populate and submit that, you'll see that data should go through to Google Sheets, but it's not because I've probably chosen the wrong sheet. Oh, you know what it is? It's because this has a GDPR checkbox on it. So let's just make sure we check that. Hit submit. There we go. So we know the GDPR checkbox works, which is good. So the nice thing about this is you can push your submissions through to third-party systems like Google Sheets. So if we refresh this, let's just do one more and submit. And we'll do one more again. Populate and submit. And there we go. So you'll see it's putting one line in per entry. The other cool thing is if I go to select field here, and we'll open that up, we'll go to options under data sources, as well as the preset I showed you earlier on. You can also populate from posts, from terms. You can do it for a custom WordPress filter hook if you like. But you can also do Google Sheets. So I can actually choose that sheet. I can choose sheet 1, and I can pull the data down from that sheet, hit save and close, and it will now populate that drop-down list with the data from that sheet there. And you can choose how frequently that updates. So you could do that every hour, every day, or you can actually do it in real time if you really want to. Wouldn't recommend it because there's a lot of API calls going on there. But so there you can see, the power in terms of integration, pushing data out, pulling data in on pretty much all of our integrations. So I think that's a pretty good summary of what WS Form can do. Do we have any questions, Marcus, on any of this?
I am still trying to soak it all in. There's so much going on there. So, Todd looks like he might be in the middle of typing a question. I have a few that I gathered ahead of time from folks.
Sure.
But kind of taking a step back a little bit, because we jumped right into this and didn't really get a chance to talk about you and your experience and your journey.
Who is this strange man?
Yeah. And you didn't go into it. You would have jumped right in, which is great because there's so much to cover here and it's so powerful. But just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you maybe tell us a little bit about how you got into WordPress and what made you decide to go down the route of building this form plugin, because there's a lot here and there's a lot to building any form plugin.
Yeah.
What makes you have the bravery, courage to take that on?
Yeah, I don't know about courage, but yeah, I mean, so my background is I've been in the web game for about 26 years. I've always had an agency. As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm originally from the UK. I used to run the UK's second fastest agency back in the day. Went through the whole .com bubble and boom era, and been using WordPress for about 10 years. It was actually my development team that came to me and said, hey, we should start using this. And we've been using it ever since for all the, from my agency side, I build websites, I build intranets, custom software for a lot of different clients that I work with. And I've been using WordPress with those clients ever since. And we wanted to get into the plugin space. We wanted to build something for the company, and sat down with everyone and said, what do you think we should build? We weren't looking to build the next big Facebook or anything big like that. Just really wanted to build something better that was already out there. And Forms was always a sticking point for us when we were developing. It was kind of like putting a little alien on the page and having to work out the CSS and everything to get that built. There was a lot of custom code we had to develop. There was a lot of plugins we had to install as well for a form plugin. You kind of put the base plugin in and then have to add maybe a plugin just to get a signature field on there, or various other pieces of functionality that you needed. So we wanted something leaner. We wanted to build something that would really speed up our development workflow when building forms for customers. And that's why we started working on WS Form. So we had the advantage really of a fresh code base from ground up, and that's where this was born from. So it is a very competitive space to get into. There's a lot of very established and very well respected brands out there that are in the form space. I know most of the guys that build that stuff, and we're not really in the game to compete directly with them. I think different form plugins have different audiences, and we're targeted more at the developer, more at people that want to build complex forms for customers without the need for all that code. Now, I'm a coder by heart. I love coding. So you can still do PHP coding and build whatever you need with this. But just the ability, if I want to build a form for a customer and they want to maybe push that data to Salesforce or I don't know, umpteen different integrations that we have, it's a very simple process to do that, and it just speeds up stuff, which hopefully means more profit for the developer, because they can still charge the same for building that form in the first place, but they're building it in 5-10 minutes as opposed to struggling with an alternative plugin. So that was really the kind of driving force behind it, and that's really where we found our niche. We're not in the game of trying to convert people from one plugin to another, but we feel a lot of times when we demo this to people, they're kind of like, okay, this is cool, and they will migrate from one to the other. We do have a migration tool which enables you to migrate from other plugins to us, it's that kind of developer niche is where we're focused.
Yeah, you briefly showed your documentation, which is fantastic too, that there's so much more that you can do even with writing code if you want to.
Yeah.
But I mentioned it even in the chat while you were going, that I'm just continuously mind blown by how much you can do without writing a single line of code. Like, if you want to build something simple, that's really easy. But if you want to build something complex, it still doesn't require a whole lot of code, especially with a really powerful condition engine that you have.
Yeah, and there's other features that I really won't have time to show today, but things like our Bootstrap and Foundation integration. So if you're using Bootstrap or Foundation as a framework on your site, we actually output HTML native to those frameworks. So you just choose, it actually will go through your theme CSS files and detect if you're using that when you install WS Form, and will then just output native HTML to that. So that makes it even easier to style those forms. And then we're also working with some new frameworks that are coming up soon, such as ACSS, which is used predominantly for the Oxygen and Bricks community, with a guy called Kevin. And we're excited about getting those additional frameworks put together for WS Form. But there's a built-in framework, the WS Form framework, which is just a super clean, neat and tidy DOM structure that you can work with. So we found a lot of the HTML behind some of these form plugins, it can just be, div upon div upon div. It's just like nested HTML. So we try to keep that as clean as we possibly can. So if you do want to go in there and start modifying that code, you can do that.
That's awesome. Todd's question finally came through, and I think it's probably the most important question you'll answer this whole time. He asks, what is your favorite Toto song?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to get back to him on that one. But yeah, he and I bounce songs around with each other on Facebook. So we found we've got quite similar music tastes. But I'll get back to him on that one. I'll have to have a look through the old library.
There you go. I have to think about that one. I know that you also have an agency as well. Yeah. How do you balance running an agency with the plugin product?
It's a challenge. One of the reasons that I wanted to get into the plugin space is that I've traditionally had some kind of licensing aspect to my business. I used to run a wedding business where we did wedding websites and wedding planning solutions. Mm-hmm. And we white labeled that and licensed it out to people like Condé Nast, who own Brides Magazine and Vanity Fair and everything else. So this was just for me personally, just wanted to have that kind of licensing side to the business, which is, we don't do any lifetime deals with WS Form. We're a subscription-based annual charge business because I want it to be sustainable. I see a lot of LTDs having trouble 2-3 years in. It's a great way of generating a lot of cash up front, but we really want to be able to provide good support, keep developing this product. So really right now, the balance is a lot of late nights. And we do most of the agency work during the day. I'll then work on this. We try to get back to people very quickly on support. That's our priority. But in terms of actually developing the product, that's kind of, we usually do like half a day agency, half a day WS Form. I'm hoping one day WS Form can be the bulk of what I do, because I really enjoy doing it. I love being part of the WordPress community. Looking forward to WordCamp US coming up. Hopefully see you
Yeah.
there, Marcus. And
Yeah.
just love being involved in that community. I really enjoy it. I prefer this over the agency side of stuff that I do, but I think it'll always be there, both things.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do love just the community and, you know, the support and stuff. And I know that when I shared that you were going to be on, a lot of people were, you know, jumping in saying how great WS Form is, how great you are, and they've gotten a chance to meet you and stuff. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to hanging out at WordCamp US with you as well for a bit. Get a chance to. Amy in the chat said, comment first, sending my thanks for addressing accessibility. So first and foremost, want to just touch on that I think it's fantastic that accessibility and, you know, responsiveness and GDPR and security and all of that are such top priorities for this, besides just being a great tool with a great interface and stuff, that you've addressed, you know, the really important things about having forms on the web, which is security and accessibility.
Yeah, accessibility to me is vitally important. And accessibility to me is like a no-brainer, because it not only helps people that need those features to be able to interact with a website, it just makes your website work better overall. It makes the user experience easier. If you're, you know, accessibility is everything from making sure that the form works with a keyboard, making sure that it works with voice readers, but it's also about the wording that you use on labeling, making sure that makes sense. And we had a whole discussion on Twitter the other day around what should your submit button say. You know, it's important. So we've done everything we can in terms of WCAG compliance, just to make sure that out of the box the forms are WCAG compliant. There are some field types you want to be aware of that aren't that accessible, like a signature field. That can be problematic for people. So people might want to maybe use a text field for that. That's entirely up to, you know, the audience that you're working with. But wherever we can, we've made sure accessibility works great. We've made sure even our conversational form, you know, you can use the tab key to move up and down. The enter key will move you to the next field automatically. So that's been very important to us. And we've actually worked with some professionals in the accessibility field to look at our product and give us some feedback and improve on that. And we've got, you know, other things that we'll be doing and keeping up with those standards as they change.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's so much more than just providing additional tools for those who really need it. It boosts your SEO. It helps with performance. It helps with just all of those things. It makes the site better for everyone. Yeah,
these are all things that Google take into account now. You know, you've got Lighthouse built into Chrome. It's super easy to check your site for accessibility. And you know, I've worked with some big clients that have had legal cases about accessibility. There's no point scrimping on it. Just do it.
Yeah, for sure. Amy's follow-up to that, to commending you on the accessibility piece, was asking actually a question that I had as well. What's coming on the WS Form roadmap? It feels like you went through so much stuff that I don't know what could possibly what else could possibly exist there. But what's without giving maybe too much away, I guess. What's next?
So there'll be more integrations. We have a feature request page on WS Form that our customers can go to and actually make suggestions. And we'll go through those, look at the voting on them, and steer the products in that way. We've got some requests from people about being able to show submissions on the front end of the site. A lot of our developers used to use the post management add-on for that. They'll just submit posts and then just render them on the front end. But we'll probably be doing something around that with submissions, particularly for people that maybe just want to put a quick, maybe a pie chart or a bar graph on their site to show results from a survey and stuff like that. So that's probably the next big thing that we'll do. But right now we've got all the core features in there that we want, and the integrations that we've got all the kind of the big players covered. We're doing a lot of focus on some of our European customers as well that maybe have different payment gateways that they're using that the US doesn't use. So we'll be looking at that, and hopefully some more integration with GoDaddy products as well. So we've got that we've spoken about too.
Awesome.
So lots more to come.
The payment gateway piece actually just spurred a question for me. Does WS Form have piece built in to accept payment currently?
Yes, it does. Yeah, so we have, you'll see here, we have an e-commerce tab. So you can build basic e-commerce forms with WS Form. So this is just an example of a basic e-commerce form. You can do things like entering amounts in, or having a customer choose a particular option, or price radios, checkboxes. You can even do price range sliders, which are nice for like donation features. And sub that up, do a subtotal. You can do shipping, handling, discounts, do a cart total on there. And then we're integrated in with PayPal, Stripe, Authorize.net. So there are different payment connection options there for you. So yeah, you can. We have people that use this for selling just basic stuff like t-shirts and things like that. If you want something a bit more advanced, then that's when you start looking at that Woocommerce integration that we have, and you customize products that way. So you can do it one of two ways. And the nice thing about the forms with the e-commerce is any amount that gets calculated on the e-commerce side in WooCommerce then gets added to the base WooCommerce price. So you can use it to actually adjust the price of WooCommerce. And I was talking to Bob Dunn, who's Bob WP, and he said, what you've built is basically an extension that's like 10 extensions rolled into one. So you can do your donate price, you can do your multi-tab, your repeaters, and everything else that you want, just using one extension.
Yep, that's awesome. Being one of the Do the Woo podcast co-hosts as well, I'm obviously big on the WooCommerce side of things, but sometimes that is overkill. If you just have a single product that you want to sell, an ebook or something, then going something the route of a simple form is definitely the way to go. Todd asked, can I create a cart for a library of courses and products using WS Form? And I would say that's probably where you're dancing into maybe WooCommerce territory, but could use WS Form in conjunction with WooCommerce to sort of fine-tune that experience.
Yes, if you want that cart experience, that's where the WooCommerce side of it comes in. If you just want to have a simple, I just want to donate an amount, or I just want to buy this single thing, then you could just do that with a simple WS Form itself. But most people use the WooCommerce integration. Maybe they've got an existing e-commerce store at work with that. You can assign forms to individual products or a series of products. It's super simple. I'll just show you quickly. So if you go into products, I'll just create a new product. We'll call it Todd's product. And then all you do is go down to the product data section, and you'll see there's a WS Form tab. And here you can choose an existing template if you want, or you can create your own. So I can say, I just want to use a field type demo, and that will assign that product, that form to that product. So, and you can go into the form itself, and
you can still make modifications from there.
So you can actually go into form settings, go into Woo here, choose which category, tags, or individual products you want that form to be assigned to. You can also exclude categories, tags, and products. And there's a bunch of different options in terms of how that form is then rendered on that product. So the cool thing is once you've got the WooCommerce extension installed, you can actually you actually get these additional WooCommerce fields, which means you can add an add to cart field on your form wherever you want. So you can actually move pieces of that WooCommerce product page around. You can add your own add to cart button as many times as you want. You can add a quantity. You can add a cart item total here, which will show you the cost of the WooCommerce product plus the amount that's on the form. And it's very flexible in what you can do.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is all the questions I had. Where can people find out more about you, about WS Form?
Yeah, they can go to just wsform.com. So we've got all the information about the product on there. Have a look at the knowledge base and have a look at the add-ons that we have. If they want to contact me, you can find me at Westgard, which is WESTGUARD, or for the company, it's WS_form.
Very cool. And then I think you had a screen for our audience to be able to take it for a test drive at
Sure. So we have a demo on the site if you want to use that, but we're doing a special offer with GoDaddy. This is going to run through WordCamp US, so this will be until the end of WordCamp US. If you use coupon code GDP30, you're going to get 30% off AWS Form Edition. And that's actually our Black Friday pricing. So take advantage of it where you can.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much awesome stuff in there that I do hope that people do take advantage of that and grab a copy and jump in there and look at all the different demo pieces, all the different templates, and all the stuff that's honestly already pre-built in there to do half of a developer's job for them, building forms.
That's it.
So, all right, with that, I will go ahead and wrap us up. Thanks so much for coming, everyone.
Yeah.
Like I said at the beginning, this is being recorded, so I'll try and get this up as soon as I can. And that way you can kind of scrub through and go back and look at all the really great stuff that was in there. We do have another event, same time, same place next week. And I'm very excited for this one as well. I'll have some other folks from my GoDaddy Pro field team joining to talk about WordCamp. It's called First WordCamp Tips and Tricks, but it doesn't have to be your first WordCamp to come join us. But with WordCamp US on the horizon, we wanted to share some tips and tricks about getting the most out of WordCamp. And so I'll have some more folks from my team joining me, and we'll have a little panel discussion about that. Like I said, that's the same place and time next week. For that, to register for that event or to see any of our past events, including this one shortly afterwards, you can see the videos and all that at events.godaddy.com. And like I said, register for the next one. The videos are also on our GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel, so you can check that out there. Otherwise, that's it for today. Thanks again, Mark, for coming on and sharing all that with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Marcus. I appreciate it.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you and everyone else at WordCamp US, hopefully.
Looking forward to that.
All right. See you at the next one, everyone. Bye-bye.